beautiful souls. I hope you're doing well. Today is a real pleasure to do another creative intuitive transmission session. So, today, the title of the session is Self Care, Treating Yourself as You Treat Others. And as you know, there is a saying, that says, treat others as you treat yourself. This time, it's the opposite. And there's a really specific reason for that is that we live in a world where we are often encouraged to help others, which is wonderful. And it's really important in order to be of service to others. But there is also those moments, and I would say always, when you have to be treating yourself as good, as well, as caringly, as lovingly as you treat others. And I would say that today's creative intuitive transmission session, if you want, focuses, it really applies to everybody out there. But I think it will probably resonate even more to people who tend to be either professionally or on a personal level very involved with helping others, and sometimes tend to lose themselves a little bit in the process. And so here today, the Mella Collective, which is my soul cluster that I am part of, we together wish to perhaps offer a little bit of guidance there, very humbly, about how we can learn to treat ourselves as well, as lovingly as sometimes as we treat others. So before we get into the actual visual information, iconography, symbolism, and the message itself, let's have a look at the two pieces of music that were inspired today by the Mella Collective. So the first one is interestingly called Cherry Ball Blues. And this piece of music was actually written by Skip James in the 1930s, who was a bluesman in African-American Delta blues singer, guitarist, pianist, and songwriter. Beautiful blues music that has been interpreted in this session. We have an interpretation by Ry Cooder. For those who know Ry Cooder, he's an amazing guitarist, blues guitarist that has made a lot of music for soundtracks, like often movies that are very atmospheric or very what's the word, like road trip kind of music. It's very like that happens in the States in general. So there's this really like road trip kind of mood to the blues in this piece of music. So I was wondering, cherry ball, what does that mean? So first of all, I fell into, as I was doing my research, I was like, okay, cherry ball. And then the first things that came was like desserts, where you have this coconut little ball where you have a cherry in the middle. And it's interesting because visually it shows like a little red dot in the center of this, I'm trying chewy kind of coconut feel to it. So I thought that was interesting. And I was trying to make sense of that, like symbolically. I was like, oh, could that represent like the heart in the middle? And around there's this kind of buffer zone of sweetness. So I was trying to find like, some kind of symbolism there, visual symbolism, which does apply in a way, and I think it's visually interesting to add that. But as I did a little bit more research, I realized that Skip's James song Cherry Ball Blues was actually the name he's giving to his lady lover, his loved one, who unfortunately seems to be treating him horribly and seems to have left him. So it's blues. Obviously, it's usually not very happy. But, just to give you an idea of the lyrics, it's like, I love you, my cherry ball, better than I love myself. Interesting there, right? This little phrase there that really comes into reinforces, the message we have today regarding self-love, self-care. And sometimes we end up, loving others perhaps a little bit too much more than we love ourselves. And, we're bound to be either hurt or be exhausted or be, there's no balance there. So that was a very interesting piece of music. because what's also interesting about it, it's like a blues, so obviously blues is never really happy happy, but there's still a kind of an upbeat thing to it, which it could be also a rhythmic song that could be also an inspiration to be more light. So I don't know, I find there's these kind of two atmospheres in that particular song. It's obviously blues and it's sad lyrics, but there's this kind of upbeat thing to it that you almost want to dance a little bit on it. Not dance, but I don't know, it makes you feel like, taking your car and just leave everything and do that road trip that you wanted to do for the rest of your life, since you were like young, and, just follow your dream and do that, that type of feel, like a kind of a happy child, doing its, realizing his or her dream or something like that. So I thought there was something nice, interesting there, like about this dream of like traveling or doing, something that speaks to your heart. So that's for the first song. Second song is entitled Dawn's Song. It's by Michael Shimmer. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Shimmer, I think. He's a Canadian jazz pianist, and he mixes different styles of classical, jazz, blues, boogie woogie even. So it's this piece of music is quite calm and soothing, very gentle, very tender-like. And there's something about, obviously it's Dawn's song, probably has to do with a lady named Dawn. I don't know. But to me, in this context, I wish to see it as dawn, as, the early hours of the morning, where it's a new beginning, where it's an opportunity to be bathed into the radiant and soft light of the dawn, which is often in the light purples and light pinks and light yellows, which are very enveloping and loving. And I find this song, which is purely instrumental with the piano, very kind of loving and enveloping. And in that way, I saw it as an opportunity after the blues song to go within and to be that loving presence, that caring, loving, enveloping presence for oneself. So that's with the music. We have behind us a beautiful background that again was inspired by my guidance. And what we see is a relatively kind of black and white, kind of dreary background, seems to be like autumn-like, and there's these kind of castle-like, or it's not really a castle, more like a mansion-like thing in the back, which probably symbolizes, social life, a lot of people out there. And then we have this lovely lady all dressed in white, and we don't really know if she's a young lady, or she could even be a young, like a girl. We don't know if it's a woman or a girl. Doesn't really matter. She's all dressed in white in this really peaceful, calm place next to the tree, where she's able to be alone, be with herself, and receive and offer, but receive, it would seem, the presence of these beautiful colored butterflies that kind of do a little bit of a contrast between the kind of a drearier background of, kind of society behind, town like whatever, and then you have this nature scene where you have these beautiful colored butterflies that come to her, and that participate in a moment of intimate relationship of oneness, with beauty, with high frequencies, with love, and it's an intimate moment, and that's what kind of matters here, because I see it as an opportunity for this young woman, whatever her age is, to really connect with herself, and by doing that, to really give the opportunity to magic and white magic, obviously beautiful white magic, high frequencies to join her, instead of those dark birds that we see here. And it's more like a contact with high frequencies. And she seems to be in a moment where she can have time for herself, and really have a moment of bliss with what's important to her, this connection to nature and to colors and high frequencies. So lots of symbolism there, obviously. So before we go and look at the Japanese washi paper collage I've created for today in relationship to this symbolic well, to this theme, let's say, the Mela Collective really is inviting me here to share that we are invited not only as sometimes as carers or as professionals that need to be very much present for others. Whatever our profession is, I mean, it can be healing, it can be, giving the opportunity to other people to express themselves, whatever profession or activity that, really makes you very empathic, compassionate, and empathic to people's needs. Well, there is obviously that need to treat yourself as well and as best as you treat others. Because, as we've said previously, a lack of self care, a lack of self love, a lack of time to oneself to reconnect with the essence of who we are as a soul and as an individual by going within and reconnecting with our essence, and by the same time having the opportunity to experience what gives us joy, bliss, what brings us yeah, basically self-care is something that is absolutely essential in order to be able to give back to others, because many people give to others, they don't give to themselves, and so they end up exhausting themselves, they end up tiring themselves, and actually even sometimes having a little bit of resentment towards others because they feel, well, why am I giving, and people are taking, and they're not giving back in return. And that can be frustrating for many empaths and people working professionally with others. And that's why often these people, these professionals, tend to really insist and really make sure that they have a healthy relationship of care with themselves, to make sure that they don't empty themselves in their gift to others, and make sure that there's this constant flow happening between what they give to themselves, what they offer to others. Because one thing we have to realize is that we cannot expect others to be as generous as we want them to be or would wish them to be. Not everybody is at the same place in terms of evolution, and some people are still in a place where they have a lot of needs, and they're perhaps not as much as we love them, they might not be as giving and generous as we would like them to be. And so we have to be in a place where we don't expect people to give us back. I mean, we can wish it, we can hope for it, we can try to manifest it, but we should not have expectations of that. Because right now, since we're not in fifth density, we're not necessarily in a place where people are just, the only thought they have in their head is to, be of service or be of help to others. So one really important thing that, well, two important things that the Mella Collective was really inspiring me to talk about here. First of all, is that the first thing is that not have these expectations, and always be to yourself the kind, loving parent, partner, brother, sister, sibling, therapist that you can be to yourself. Because without having expectations towards other, you won't have resentment towards them if they don't give you what you would need, because you will be offering to yourself what you need. And this way you will have a much more benevolent and loving and relationship with others that's not based on expectations and even resentment. So it's really, really important to be that parent to ourselves. And this is kind of the second image that the Mela Collective was offering me visually and emotionally, is that, uh, and I think there's a connection there with, the young lady here, and something about the two songs that has to do with the inner child. And the Mela Collective was really showing me images of like how it would be if each of us was to really, in every single one of our decisions and our conscious, mindful decisions, when we are to give time to a project, to a person, to any activity or anything that we are being or doing, to think about, if I was, the parent of my own inner child, would I do this to myself? What I'm about to do to others, or mostly what I'm about to do to myself, like the way I'm treating myself, is that how my inner parent would treat me as a child? And not only does that give us the opportunity to have to do some inner work about how we were treated as, children by our parents, but that's one thing. But that's not really the point here. But the point is more like, how can I become that loving parent to my own inner child? And if you take all of your decisions, your conscious decisions with that in mind, like, you know, you would probably treat yourself, and we probably would treat ourselves so much more lovingly, because sometimes we do things to ourselves that would never do to others. And sometimes we do things to ourselves that if we were to do them to others, we would be in prison, or we would be committed, or because we can be so very cruel to ourselves, we can be very not loving enough to ourselves, we can be very judging, hurtful, non-loving to ourselves. And so this is really the essence of Mella's collective here, is to really think of ourselves as, how can I be the right parent for myself? And if I'm about to do something, I have to make sure that it's something that, that will not put down my own needs or repress myself or hurt myself just because I want to be nice to others or pleasing to others or to be validated by others. So that's a really, really important point there, that we need to, this a little bit of an exercise that we're invited to do here of self-love, to think of ourselves of our own as our own parents, and love ourselves in that way. And just think about, do this, transpose the situation, and always think when you're doing something towards outside, is that repressing my own needs? Am I being cruel to myself by not answering certain inner needs I have? So that's really important point that the Mella really wished to bring here. So now let's have a look at our Japanese washi paper collage that I've created today, which is entitled Alalthaniël, Alalthaniël, which is spelled here, and you can see here on the left. So Alalthaniël is interesting because it's really interesting. This paper, this blue paper with little flowers, white flowers and gold branches, is very, it's beautiful, it's high vibe. But to me, it really reminds me a little bit of the song, the Cherry Ball Blues, because it has this double aspect to it. It's in darker blue colors, so it's a little bit going within and inwards kind of energy. But the little white flowers bring this kind of joyful, almost childlike joy element to it, where you feel like being in movement. And I don't know, it has this double element in it that I find interesting. And it sounds a little bit silly, but like this background, which I find really, really beautiful, reminds me a little bit of the type of wallpaper you could have perhaps in a child's room or something like that. It has this softness and beautiful, loving and high frequency to it, that I find at the same time peaceful, but also filled with movement, with the presence of the flowers and the golden little branches there. So that's there. Then we have those two major circles, and the lower circle, which is in red with those cherry flowers, and is made with these branches. So it represents this kind of branch with flowers, has a red background, which to me represents this connection to not only to Terra and to the grounding of our lives, the grounded aspect of our lives, in which we are invited to do things consciously, but in the grounded aspect. And then the upper circle is more like navy blue with stars, kind of stars. And that to me represents more like the inner sphere going within, but also the spiritual sphere. And both of these circles have equal importance, a little bit like a yin and yang thing happening here with the big circles and smaller circles, is that within the larger circle, and the one that's red. Within it, you have a smaller circle, which is represents golden stars on a blue background, which to me represents a connection to ourselves, to going within, but also to our spiritual nature, or perhaps our starseed nature eventually, if we're starseed. And so there's, this notion of like, yes, being grounded, but then at the same time always keep kind of your boundary, not boundaries, but remember who you are, remember your center, your essence, in the terms of like having a sort of a buffer zone when you're interacting with the world, with the grounded reality of Terra, to keep within that activity in relation to others, that center of like not losing yourself, not having that buffer zone, that center within you, that island that's made out of your soul. And then reversely, you have in the upper circle, which is more about going within and more your spiritual connection, you have like another kind of smaller red circle there with a bird in flight, which for me really represents, in this case, not so much the grounding of Terra, but more like the connection to the heart, because often I use small circles, red circles, to represent the connection to the heart. And in this case, it's larger. So a real large connection to the heart, because your connection to the heart will not only give you the opportunity to stay connected to who you are, but also connected to others and their needs. So you balance both. But the connection to your heart also makes you be free. So hence the flying bird, of being trapped into demands of others and yourself without listening to what is positive and high frequency, to bring to yourself what's good, what's healthy, what's balanced, what's harmonious, while bringing as well to others in that same way, but always, always balanced. So it's really interesting because visually, symbolically, we have a little bit, again, of a yin yang thing kind of happening here, where we need both spheres, grounding and going within, but within each sphere, we have also an element of the opposite to balance everything. So everything has always to be balanced. And then we have those two branches, those golden branches, which are made of a golden paper with the flower of life motif, which for me always represents the source energy and the fractal of source that we are as souls. And so there is this notion of movement with the connection with source, and the importance of always creating a kind of a cycle there, which is represented by the position of these branches, a cycle of I would see it as self-care and care for others, going within, going outside, um, caring for you, caring for others. Always this kind of um, I'm trying to find the right word, not binaural, but this kind of um, two aspects that need to always be in balance for your life to be balanced, to be harmonious. Because if you always give to others and not give to yourself, then you end up crashing or tiring yourself or being resentful, which is even worse, because then you're not giving out of the heart. You're just like kind of like, you're giving, but you're thinking, oh, they're not giving me back, and that's destroying you, and it destroys also the relationship you might have with others. So it's really, really, really important and important to focus on that relationship with the inner child that might have been repressed and not have had the necessary attention and care and love that might have been needed. And instead of focusing on others and trying to have them give you what you need and what you want, or what you have desperately missed or was lacking of um, as a child or during adult life, then you're always free and sovereign to give it to yourself. So that empowers you and gives you back your own power to be that loving parent to yourself again, or that loving friend, or that loving partner, or that loving sister or brother. And then you don't need to depend on others, and you don't have to be resentful towards them if they don't give it to you. And you can really, really do that beautiful inner journey of always, always acting and being and doing things in your life with this perspective of, would I do this to my child if, I was my own parent? And then if you say, yes, I think I'm being benevolent towards myself as I would towards my own child, then you're balanced, and then you can give to others generously, and everything will be perfectly harmonious in that way. So I hope this message has brought you or inspired you, an opportunity for you to go within, as always, and to discover that inner child that perhaps might have some needs that have not been taken care of or that have been answered to, and an opportunity here to do some healing and transmutation, but also to be and finally be that loving parent. And, sometimes also I just wish to add before I finish this, being a loving parent is not just providing, giving things to your child, but it's also gratitude. And gratitude is something that we don't often enough rely upon to bring high frequencies in our lives. But being in gratitude, not only towards others, but towards ourselves as well, is really something that can really help the inner child. When you do something, say, oh, wow, you did that, gratitude. Thank you for doing that. Or you did it well. Or thank you for taking care of myself today, stopping and taking a time off. Or, like, for example, I just give you a personal example. Like every Wednesday, I completely disconnect from social media, from any electronics, because this is my way of being able to recenter, give everything I need to my inner child, which needs to go to the botanical garden, to the museum, or to just stay home and cocoon a little bit, or watch a movie, go in nature walk, give myself some self-care, eat something I love, cook for myself something good. And then when I come back after that, I'm able to give back again to people and to be there for people and interact a lot with people, because I took that bubble of time for myself. So, and in that day, I focus on gratitude. I focus on the good things I've done in the week, trying to be positive towards myself and say, hey, that's a good thing you did, and whatever. And there's always place for betterment, but you know what I'm saying. Like, just try to focus on the gratitude aspect, towards yourself first, and then also towards other. And I don't think we say enough to others how special they are, how amazing they are. But I think that the more we say that to ourselves and to our inner child, like that we are in gratitude toward ourselves, the more we naturally do it outside. And then we change our world one by one person at a time, by being as grateful and loving to others as we are to ourselves. And then the beautiful, circle, just happens. And this is how we move to fourth and fifth density. It really is. So I hope this message has inspired you, as well as the music, the background, and the artwork. Alalthaniël is the actual, not the original, is not available, because it was what's the word? It was the result of a special request by someone. But I'm trying to find the right word. The digital file of this beautiful collage is available on my boutique on abigailrichard.com if you're interested. And I'm going to leave you now on the two pieces of music that we have presented today, Cherry Ball Blues and Dawn's Song. And you will be able to listen to these two pieces of music while you see Alalthaniël being created. So I wish you a lovely week. Take immense care of yourself, and I send you lots of love. And don't forget to send yourself lots of love. Take care. Bye. All my gratitude for helping this channel bring high vibrations and high frequencies to more people.